Yo, what's up guys? Here with another video and of course coming at you with nothing but the truth. You probably saw the title and yes, I stand by it. Floyd Money Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Floyd, Pretty Boy Floyd, excuse me, is indeed the best boxer to ever live by my estimation. This is my opinion. I believe I can back that up, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that in a few simple steps here. I think I'll start off by outlining the media perception and how that has swayed the public and changed real-time history of Floyd Mayweather and what we know about his boxing skills. And then I'm going to go into his skills, and then I'm going to compare him to some of the all-time greats that most people have at their top 5 list. So let me start with why I think Floyd Mayweather isn't regarded as one of the top fighters of all time, if not the best ever, undisputed, of all time. And a lot of that has to do with the media perception. The media has never really been behind Floyd Mayweather in terms of his character, his persona, or his brand. Nobody has ever wanted to tout him as the best ever pound for pound over the course of his career. If you remember back as far as like 2006, they were always trying to say somebody was better than Floyd Mayweather at all times. When he was clearly pound for pound throughout many times in his career, most of his career, they were always saying 2 or 3 guys were better. And they were always using his fighting style, his boxing specialist style against him. Now, a lot of casuals are huge pushers of this image when it comes to Floyd Mayweather not being that great of a fighter. Look at the picture here. I've got Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Most casuals legitimately believe that Manny Pacquiao is better than Floyd Mayweather. They believe in their hearts of hearts that Mayweather had some master plan to wait till Pacquiao slowed down to fight him, which, if you really think about it with any level of intelligence, how can a guy who's almost 2 years senior of Pacquiao wait for him to get old when Floyd Mayweather, just by the numbers alone and age alone, is always going to be older? Just a ridiculous, silly argument. Now, what I want to tell you casual fans, as the internet says most of the time now, you casual fans who might stumble across this video, why you don't understand Floyd Mayweather's greatness is because you don't understand boxing. You cannot do something called the eye test in boxing and watch a fight and really see what's happening. For example, you cannot understand when a fighter's backing up and in control and being able to discern between that and a fighter who's backing up and desperate and trying to find a way to get away from a better fighter who's backing him up. You guys don't even know the difference. And something as simple as that, if you can't discern between the two, there's so many other things happening in a boxing ring that you don't get at all. So, number one thing I want to address is that boxing is a sport. There are parameters and rules that have been established that you must work within, just like any sport. Basketball, tennis, golf, whatever it may be, just like any sport, it is a sport with rules. This is not a street fight. And I think a lot of casual fans in the media also, who've helped to bolster this with casual fans, want Floyd Mayweather to be a street fighter, a slugger, a brawler, and that is the only way that they'll say in their minds that he was the greatest. If he would just stand there and throw haymakers, and whoever falls first is the better man. Listen, that is not boxing, okay? If they wanted them to fight in a little 5-by-5 ring, they would do that, okay? So that is not boxing. So that's my point, is to address first and foremost that the casual fan and the media perception of this gentleman has been nothing but incorrect and wrong, and not factually correct either, okay? Not factually correct either. Okay, so like, for example, why I say factually correct, people talk about how he can't hit. That is not factually correct. Not based off his knockout percentage, and not based off what he does in the ring. There's a reason people say, why doesn't he just walk through him then if he doesn't hit hard? Okay? Now, we saw, for example, with the Triple G fight, a lot of the reason Triple G could push forward is because Canelo, even though he hits hard, he doesn't hit hard enough to put Triple G back on his heels, even though at some points in the time that was happening. Okay, not a lot, of course, but sometimes it did because Canelo does have power. Now, that's why people say Floyd Mayweather must have power, or else guys would just walk him down, throw crazy shots, haymakers, not worry about his counters, not worry about his offense. They wouldn't give a shit because he has no power. It's just not accurate. But the fact that that's even in the conversation shows you guys how the media sways everyone's opinion. This idea that guys like Skip Bayless get out there and postulate over and over about how he has zero power and he's never seen the likes of a Conor McGregor's power, where it showed very clearly that Floyd Mayweather at 40 years old probably possesses more of a puncher's power than Conor McGregor does. Okay, now I know that the cadence and the rhythm throws McGregor off, so he loses a lot of power with that because it's a different cadence than MMA. But still, I'd say their power is probably on par, if not Mayweather hits harder when it comes to boxing because he understands how to sit down on shots, how to put his entire 152-pound frame or whatever it is into a punch, where McGregor loses energy constantly because the cadence throws him off and he's used to setting up kicks, he's used to doing certain things where he's throwing air punches with his arms and he's not sitting down. Triple G is a perfect example of a guy who knows a lot of East Bloc fighters know how to sit the fuck down on their punches. That's why they oftentimes are known as the hardest punchers around. I've heard people say their genetic makeup and their wide hips have something to do with that too. Could be, I don't know. Actually, that's something I really don't know about. I'd have to research that. But the way they sit down on their punches in these Eastern European fighters, it's amazing. They really know how to put every weight, every pound into the end of their knuckles. They know how to throw all that transfer of energy into a punch. So the point is Floyd Mayweather's always known how to put the power into his punches when he needed to. He used to knock a lot of guys out. We all know he had hand issues. And when you have hand issues, that's going to force you to fight a different style. Much like Prince Nassim Hamed, who had a lot of hand issues. And that's the only reason that, he couldn't really excel to a higher level. Even though I'm not saying he's on Floyd Mayweather's level, he couldn't beat the shit out of guys he wanted to because of his hand issues. His hands broke a number of times in his fights. This is a fact. And if you watch some of his fights, you can see it happening. Just like with some of Floyd's, he's actually broken his hand in a fight. I think it's happened more than once. He says it's happened once or twice. I think it's happened like 3 or 4 times. You could see him really not wanting to throw until the later rounds in his later career because he understands that if I break my hand in the early round, I will not be able to go 7, 8, 9, 10 more rounds with Manny Pacquiao and pull out a win. So that's why towards the end of his career, he was always turning it on in the 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th round because he knew even if he broke his hand, it's okay. That's why you heard him in interviews saying I was pressing for the knockout in the 10th, 9th, 11th, and 12th because he didn't give a shit about breaking his hand because he knew he could survive for 2 or 3 rounds with one hand. So that's just a little bit, okay? So let's forget about the misconceptions, all right? And I'm just addressing why people have these misconceptions. Now let's throw those to the wayside and let's talk about the skill. Let's talk about what makes this guy the best. I'm going to start with the number one thing, and I'm going to kind of couple this two things in one. His defense and his adaptability. And I'm going to couple those because adaptability mostly has to do with defense and less to do with offense. Offensively, you need to adapt, but most of the time, defense is why great fighters have trouble when they lose. It's because they can't adapt on the defensive end. Floyd Mayweather can adapt to any style. He's proved that through 50 fights, that any style that is put in front of him, he can adapt and make adjustments to. If you look back at his early career, even when he was younger, obviously his dad told him since he was a kid, this is how he was trained, I believe, you feel out a fighter first, and then you make the adjustments. Much like chess, you see the moves that this person is going to make, and then you adjust appropriately. Nobody in the history of boxing has done that to the level of Floyd Mayweather. I do not think Sugar Ray Leonard is better than Floyd Mayweather. I will explain that here in a second. Sugar Ray Leonard, he exemplified that in a few fights, that he actually also did have the ability to adjust, but not like Mayweather over more than just a few fights. I mean, tons of fights he showed that not only can he fight almost every boxing style that there is, but he can adjust on the fly to any boxing style that is coming at him. From southpaws to brawlers to guys who throw different angles, the guys that have the special effects, to guys who don't, who have a very rudimentary type of attack. He showed that he could adjust to guys that were smaller than him, taller than him, heavier than him by 20 plus pounds. He could beat everyone. All right, so that is why number one reason he's the best of all time on my list, because there is a very short list of guys that you can pull that could make those adjustments at his level. Okay? Yes, there's plenty of fighters who could make adjustments. I mean, at his level, showing it, exemplifying it, and doing it almost to perfection, to where it seems like all of his fights were rigged. Like how does one guy come out, look good for 3 rounds, and then look like he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing in there? And it's all because of Mayweather. You know, it has nothing to do with them. They're trying their hardest, but they're nullified by his greatness and his ability to think inside of the ring. Okay? Secondly, his accuracy. Okay? His accuracy, he's one of the greatest punchers in terms of accuracy in the history of boxing, and that is a fact. You can look it up. That is a fact. He has incredible accuracy and underrated speed. This guy is an incredible puncher and underrated speed. The speed and the accuracy at which he executes punches is unbelievable. Now, the reason he's accurate, a lot of people think that he's accurate because he just has better hand-eye coordination. That's what they think of when they think of accuracy. That's not what it is. It's he has an understanding and the ability to slow things down in the ring and pick punches that are effective and have a purpose better than any fighter in the history of boxing. So anytime you see Floyd Mayweather throw a punch, besides this last fight with McGregor, and still I could get into what he was doing, but that's a whole nother video. He throws punches with purpose, and he throws them with intent, and he knows what they're meant to do before they leave his hands, before they meet the opponent. He understands what each punch's purpose is. So if he's throwing jabs, lefts to the body, he's usually trying to wear a guy's down. He's trying to take their stamina away. He's trying to make their hands lower. And when he throws them, the reason that none of them get blocked for the most part is because he understands that I'm throwing this at the right time, at the right moment to have an effect. And the more I do this, the more the opponent is left guessing. I just threw a left to the body. I just threw a left to the head. I just threw a left check hook. So we're talking about his left hand, for example. When all that is happening, the guy's going, I have no idea what that left hand's doing. Then he does a number of things with the right hand. They have no idea what the right hand's doing. And then when the punches are landing at such a high accuracy, this is why I'm touting his accuracy, it really takes the confidence out of the opposing fighter. When they're missing so much and being hit so much, what it seems like to them in the ring, everything that he's choosing to throw, it makes them feel like they're in the ring with someone who's totally outclassing them, and it sucks away the energy. And you can see this in his fights. If you watch his fights, and remember guys, watch fights without sound. It helps you not to be influenced by the commentators who oftentimes don't know what the fuck they're talking about, okay? When you watch his fights, that's why it seems like fighters for the first 2 or 3 rounds, and check fights post like 2006, this is exemplified, they seem very confident. They seem like they have it figured out. They're all jumping up and down. They're excited, going back to their corner after the first couple rounds, and then something happens with their face. Their facial expression soon changes because they realize that they just got into deep water and they don't know how to swim. You can see it on their face, like that they've literally lost and they understand that it's over in like the 3rd or 4th round, because they get that I'm not going to be able to catch this guy, and something happened. He just took control of me. And what Floyd will do is he'll make them fight the style he wants them to fight. Then he'll adjust, and then all of a sudden they have this game plan and it breaks down. It's something he's done better than any fighter in the history of boxing, okay? Now another thing is Floyd beat more champions than anybody in the history of boxing as well. Now that point gets made by a lot of people, and a lot of people try to refute that based off the weight class argument and the way that those break down now as compared to the past. But I want to make that point because a champion is a champion, and if you have the belt, you have the belt, and Floyd Mayweather has beat them, okay? Now, that is a huge point. That's all I'm going to say on that, but he's a man who takes champions' belts, okay? Also, he's beat all the greats of his generation. It doesn't matter what time he's beat them at, what age you think he's beat them at, if he's cherry-picked them, which isn't true for the most part, and a lot of you guys don't have any facts behind that. Let's take, for example, I'm going to demonstrate to you guys that you guys don't know much about boxing and the inside of things. And I'm not addressing this to the people who on my channel who understand boxing. I'm addressing this to the casuals, okay, who might be watching this. Manny Pacquiao, most people say that Floyd dodged him for about 5 years. Most people also do not know that Bob Arum owes to this day Floyd Mayweather somewhere upwards of allegedly of like $6 million. Now, imagine why Floyd Mayweather wouldn't want to fight this motherfucker under the umbrella of Bob Arum when he's owed millions of dollars by Bob Arum, or at least feels that he's owed millions of dollars by this guy. Okay, so that's just one aspect of why that fight took so long to happen. Because Floyd really wanted to milk that and be smart from a business perspective and see that generation of revenue rise year over year over year as that fight got bigger and bigger. And they did a brilliant job of doing that. It was the biggest fight in history at its time. And there was a lot of issues going on with Manny Pacquiao kind of feeling like he was more of a 50-50 split, more of the almost the A-side fighter because Floyd had retired, and that a lot of ego issues happened there. And then of course with the PED stuff, but that's for a whole nother video. Now let's also go to say, for example, Shane Mosley. I think Floyd called Shane Mosley, if I remember correctly, at least 2 or 3 times, called him out. And fucking Shane Mosley kept dodging and dipping and moving up in weight class and coming up with excuses. Most people don't realize that. And then Shane pops into the ring and acts like, oh, I've been calling you out for years. What's up? And Floyd's looking at him like, get the fuck out of here. But see, these are the things the media won't talk about. The media won't say, well, hey, what happened when Floyd called you out 3 or 4 times in the past and you didn't fucking want to fight him? You know, at 135, at all these different weight classes, you didn't want to fight him. Now, so no one talks about that. So again, the media perception has a lot to do with where people rank Floyd all time because they use the argument that he dodged people and waited for people to get old, even people he was older than, to win fights. Now another reason I'm going to get into is Floyd oftentimes fought people who were bigger than him. And a lot of people that he fought, Manny Pacquiao obviously is smaller, but if you remember the interview with Brian Kenny, Floyd Mayweather didn't want to fight fucking Manny Pacquiao for that reason. He said, why should I fight this motherfucker? He's smaller than me. He's smaller than me. All you guys are going to say is I beat the shit out of some guy who's smaller than me after I beat him. So what's the point of fighting him? Right? He kept saying that over and over and over and over again, right? And believe you me, when Floyd was more in his prime, I think he would have dominated Pacquiao even more, and a lot of people say that makes no sense. Trust me, what Pacquiao had lost in those few years would not matter as much as what Floyd would have in speed and endurance and more having more power if they fought 5 years earlier. Because if you've watched Floyd Mayweather fight over his entire career, he dominates smaller fighters because they have a hard time getting over his guard. That's why some of the largest shots Floyd has ever taken have been from bigger fighters, fighters with more reach, fighters who are a little bit bigger and have the ability to throw over his guard. Manny Pacquiao would never have beaten Floyd at any time of either of their careers, period. And if you think that's not the truth, well, again, like I oftentimes say, you don't understand boxing. You just don't. If every year you shed off of Floyd, he's going to beat Pacquiao that much worse, in my opinion. So that's that. So I want to go into last the comparison versus Floyd and some of these other all-time greats, right? So a lot of people, let's go to Ali first, right? Because most people will say Muhammad Ali, he is definitely by far better than Floyd Mayweather, right? That's what they'll say. But it's an emotional argument. It's not based off fact. It's based off of a lot of emotion and idealism, and they get caught up in the political environment and the character that Muhammad Ali was, inside and outside of the ring mostly, and they combine all those things together and say all of those things makes him better than, for example, Floyd Mayweather, right? So kind of like people do with Michael Jordan, whereas you could say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a better player or better basketball player than Michael Jordan. You could make that argument, but reasons like Michael Jordan, what he did to the game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, a lot of times people let their emotions overtake the statistical analysis and the facts, or the eye test as well, and they'll say those emotions kind of overwhelm them, and that's why they pick a Michael Jordan undisputedly better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which is not true. You can never say he's that much better. That makes absolutely no sense. But Muhammad Ali, he was knocked out a number of times. Let's go into his defense first and foremost, okay? And I think Muhammad Ali is definitely a top 5 fighter of all time. Definitely in the top 10 if he's outside of your top 5. If you have him outside of your top 10, I really can't agree with you on that. I think that's a little bit crazy. But he had hitches in his defense, hence him getting knocked out. I do not need to go into that any more than that. He was beaten in his prime as well. So let's just stop. You can sit there and talk about the competition all day long. He was beaten in his prime. He had hitches in his defense. His defense was not complete. Most of his defense was really hinged upon his incredible athleticism. Now, do not get me wrong. I love Muhammad Ali. He is one of the most athletic freaks to ever walk the earth in terms of a boxer. 220 pounds, 6'2". The way that he moved was indeed like a butterfly. I mean, he floated around that fucking ring. His hand speed in his prime was incredible. His ability to get off combinations in a lightning fast ability was incredible. And his defense was never incredible. He had a lot of good, flashy head movement that kind of makes people think like, oh yeah, look at him kind of on his heels, ducking his head back, moving his head back and forth. You know, we saw what happened when left hooks would tag him when he was trying to do that. He got laid the fuck out. Something that never would happen to Floyd Mayweather. And also because Floyd Mayweather has a granite chin. A granite chin is also something that you have to weigh into the fact that might make him one of the best ever. Because if we go into the next fighter, and that's all I really have to say for Ali, his defense and his boxing skill overall in terms of being a complete fighter is not on the level of Floyd Mayweather's. That's my argument. You can hit me in the comments. If you believe Ali is better for some reason, go ahead and let me hear it. But my argument is overall, complete boxer, Floyd Mayweather has him beat undisputedly. That is an easy one right there. Next, a lot of people want to do this one, Sugar Ray Robinson, but let me skip to someone who's more current that people know more about, Sugar Ray Leonard. Okay, now Sugar Ray Leonard is not better than Floyd Mayweather. Albeit it would be a great fight. Now, let me address this. The Tommy Hearns, the Sugar Ray Leonard, the Roberto Durans. I believe that Floyd Mayweather would beat all of those fighters. Some of them convincingly, some of them a very close fucking fight. But I still think, nevertheless, he'd beat them all. When it comes to Sugar Ray Leonard, I think that he would figure out Leonard. Leonard would be surprised at that he cannot hit him the way that he thought he'd be able to hit him. And really, if you need evidence of this, Sugar Ray Leonard was knocked out when he was 35 years old by a gentleman whose name is now slipping my mind. You guys can hit me in the comments who knocked him out, but he had Sugar Ray Leonard looking like a baby deer. He fucking broke his ass, knocked him clean the fuck out, or knocked him clean down, right? I mean, he really, really hurt him. And that's something that you'd never see happen to Floyd Mayweather by that same fighter. At Floyd Mayweather, you know, even at 38 years old, that would not happen to him, especially 35 years old. Then that's because he wasn't a complete fighter. Sugar Ray Leonard, he just much like a Roy Jones Jr., for example, he really hinged upon and leveraged his athleticism more than anything. And once time started to kick in, we saw that the athleticism was really what was carrying them. And that is a lot to say. That needs to be counted when you're really looking at these all-time greats. That's why I'm going to make a video on Bernard Hopkins and why he's underrated, because the reason he was able to be so good for so long was his brilliance inside of the ring. Okay? And as time went on, he got better and better for me. Now, when he was fighting guys in their primes and losing to like a flashy Roy Jones Jr., people would say things like Roy Jones Jr. is head and shoulders above him, and whereas me, I was like, nah, I don't believe so. I'm seeing this fight. I'm going, nah, I do not believe so. That's why Roy Jones don't want no damn rematch with him, because he knows that's trouble. He knows that awkward ass shooting of the right hand out of anywhere, any direction, and leading with that fucking big ass hard head of his is very difficult for anybody to deal with. But it's not because Bernard Hopkins doesn't know how to box. It's because he knows how to use things to his advantage to throw guys like a Roy Jones off and many other guys off. So let's keep in mind that Sugar Ray Leonard, as compared to Floyd Mayweather, just like as compared to Ali and Floyd Mayweather, is not as complete of a boxer. And that is no disrespect to Sugar Ray Leonard, because, like I said, that's one of those 7 round of 5 fights. That's a very close fucking fight, because the combination, the speed, both of them in their prime, the stamina both these guys possessed, it'd be a very interesting fight. But again, I think Floyd Mayweather's ability to adapt, he beat a fighter like that. He beat a Roberto Duran, you know, and that might be a closer fight, but it also, let's think about how Floyd has a ability to really control brawlers sometimes. He could dominate someone like a Roberto Duran as well, because we know that Roberto Duran, his mind was his biggest enemy, and if he started getting dominated, I do not see him coming back from that. He's one of those guys that wants to brawl, and I see that fight going down as a Floyd Mayweather being smart with him, making him miss and frustrating the shit out of him, and refusing to brawl with him and really picking him apart. That's why Leonard lost the first fight to him, because he got sucked into a lot of Roberto Duran tactics instead of fighting a smarter fight, which Floyd Mayweather never gets sucked into. Anything he's doing in the ring is calculated. So those are my reasons he's the best ever. I could go into it more. I can go into each fight that he's had and go into more details, but just for time's sake, those are my reasons. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much there. Go ahead and hit me in the comments. Let me know what you think. Give me your top 5. Give me your top 5 fighters of all time. And, maybe Floyd is in there, maybe he's not. And let's do this. Give me your top 5 fighters of all time, and then just say where you think Floyd's at. You don't have to give, like, the in-between. So if you think he's number 15, put 1 through 5 who you have, because I'm interested to see that. And then put, like, number 15, Floyd, or number 6, Floyd, or number 30, Floyd. I've heard some crazy shit. I was speaking with this dude who said Felix Trinidad is without a doubt better than Floyd Mayweather. I was like, listen, incredible boxer, not better than Floyd Mayweather. Sorry, man. They also said Oscar De La Hoya is better. No, he's not. And if they would have had a rematch right after that fight, I think that would have been very telling. Floyd Mayweather fought De La Hoya for his first time at 154, and De La Hoya was weighing at fucking even 170 pounds, and is an incredible boxer and was not washed up when they fought. Very smart approach to how De La Hoya fought Floyd Mayweather, but as I don't know how, they predicted, but they knew this. De La Hoya got tired. Once he started getting tired, Floyd Mayweather really started to do work, and he won that fight. Very smart fight from De La Hoya for a lot of that fight, though. The way he kind of squared up and didn't let him get around him in the ring. Very smart fight. Good. De La Hoya is an all-time great, but in De La Hoya's prime, he's not beating a Mayweather, and I wish they would have had a fucking rematch, because he would have got his ass beat, even worse the second time. And we all know about how he had to kill weight to meet Pacquiao at 146, 147. So, anyways, hopefully you guys don't have like De La Hoya and fucking Trinidad and people like that above Mayweather. Maybe you do. If you do, that's something we can talk about in the comments. Well, until next time, guys, have a good one.